I don't think there's any other moment in our lives that unleashed a bigger wave of conspiratorial thinking than 9/11 on the left and on the right, and in different ways. But um, inside job, neocon cabal pulling strings from the inside as they worship Leo Strauss. All of that stuff was birthed on the internet in the wake of that. There was an enormous amount of populism that we didn't really recognize as populism, that some of it boiled down to like really, sort of boob baity stuff about Koran burning. Chris, if he were still here, he was making this point yesterday about how, or maybe just make it today as well, about birtherism sort of being one of these undercurrents. But for 9/11, you don't get birtherism, right? Because the Muslims are these, sleepers amongst us. They're dangerous other, is born of 9/11 for psychologically understandable, if not necessarily laudable reasons. And so I think there was a lot of things on the politics side that come out of all of that. I also don't think you get the Tea Parties, were it not for all of the spending that didn't seem to buy what we wanted, which was clear victories and better nation building than we got. And so then all of a sudden you have this sense that conservatives held their nose for a very long time about a lot of spending. And then you have the financial crisis, and you have Rick Santelli doing his rant talking about paying for other people's mortgages. And that just, there's a lot of kindling from 9/11 that I think that went into that. It's pretty fascinating how if you go issue by issue, if you make like a sort of a Chinese menu of different issues in our politics, and you look at which side of the menu, right or left, they were on in the wake of 9/11 versus now, right after 9/11, the left ran full tilt towards defend the First Amendment, defend free speech. Free speech is under attack because it was a safe harbor ideologically for them. It fed into their paranoia that if they were going to criticize the war, they'd be shut down. And it was the right that was like, not necessarily rallying against free speech, but sort of making fun of people for being paranoid about the threats to free speech. And you can go down a long list of those sorts of things where, like, now the right basically has the, I would argue, neo-isolationist or at least anti-American view of America's role in the world that was so powerful on the left back then. And it shows you how much of how many sort of political faddish positions that are the product of populism are not actually connected to the ideological commitments of the parties that they find themselves in. It has to do with other things going on.
I think it's the timing. I think it's the combination of 9/11 and this sort of deep desire to have simple explanations for the inexplicable, combined with the technology to propagate those simple and often misleading or sometimes made up explanations that accelerated what was an ongoing trend. I mean, I think the Spike Lee point is a good one. Even before that, you had the rumors, the prevalent rumors about the CIA distributing crack in urban neighborhoods to kill blacks. Certainly conspiracy theories and this conspiracy mindset aren't new, but I think the combination of such a devastating, world-changing moment like the one that we experienced on 9/11, and then the sort of grasping search for an easy explanation after that, combined with the technology to make those easy explanations available at a click, is really what accelerated these trends and have left us in this place where I think it's it's very difficult. You have people across the political spectrum who are skeptical of any and all explanations for not something as big as 9/11, but something simple. But think if you look at the way that some people talked about COVID, there were echoes, I think, in the conspiracies about COVID from the kinds of things that we saw in the aftermath of 9/11. It's this massive thing. It's hard to explain. People can't quite get their head around it. And, I had conversations with people, both people I knew and people unfamiliar to me until that moment, who claimed that this was all just an effort to get Joe Biden elected president. And, you asked them how that explained the excess deaths in Spain. They couldn't really give you an answer. They hadn't thought about it, but they had their simple explanation. And those things now, of course, rocket around the internet, and they provide easy answers for people on difficult questions.